Hello and welcome to New Game What Day. We're going to be interviewing another person from the indie studio at Full Sail. Last time we had Bill on. Today we have the wonderful Roy.
Hi. I don't know if they can see me or how this.
Oh,
how
they
you
can
have it
see
set
you.
up. Oh, okay. Is it like a picture-in-picture thing?
Yeah, I'm doing gallery view.
Gotcha.
So I forgot to
Gotcha.
explain that.
Okay. Just so I know. Okay, perfect.
So yeah, welcome, Roy.
Well, thank you very much, Dylan, for having me. And yes, I know Bill very well. He's since graduated and moved on from the indie games track at Full Sail. And since I'm a course director at Full Sail and I teach in the Game Design Masters, the indie track is the thing I run. And so I'm there all the time. And I've been there for a long time. And I'll continue to do that. But it's like I worked on my own game just recently and published it. I've done other games as well, but it's like my most recent one is out there. And, it's like when I'm working with students like Bill who are working on stuff, it's like I like to do my own things as well because I think it just keeps you fresh, right? You have to explore the creative side, just that passion for making games. I have my teeth still.
Your newest game, the One Scary Door. I was there when you first pitched it. I think it was the same week I pitched my game. What made you want to do a horror game?
Well, so previously, so I'd worked in the industry. I've worked on movie titles. I've worked on sports games, a whole plethora of content for, in the professional industry. After coming to Full Sail and teaching, I did some contract stuff, right? So working on other people's stuff in various areas. But after a while, I was like, I kind of want to make my own game. And so I made and published 3 mobile games, and they were aimed at a younger market. After that, I started, they were called Davy Jones, right? One was a puzzle platformer, right? 35 plus levels in it. The other was a memory card game, but it's like all gamified. So it's a memory, you race another little kid in there. You play a game of memory, but there's like power-ups in it and you can hurt the other person and speed yourself up. And then we worked on another one as we were working on an Endless Runner, and it ended up being a real short game. It was like a la kind of, Flappy Bird, but it was called, what do we call it? Bitey Shark. And so all you did was dive and try to get past the sharks. And it was a very short kind of short game. In fact, Memory Diver, the one game, and Bitey Shark were both nominated for indie prizes through Casual Connect. And so we went down to California and showed our product and hung out down there. It was super fun. Those games I made when I had my business partner at Zygobot with me. Started another game. It's still in development. I ran into I've been working on it for a couple years now, and with many interns as well. And that game's called Dino Tank. There's a couple videos out on YouTube on it. I'm not going to get into it too much, but it's like once, I was running into some issues with some development issues, and when we ended up shutting down for COVID, I kind of got blocked on some of the things I needed to get done. And when that happened, I was like, okay, well, I've got this idea that I thought of about a year or 2 earlier, and I had written it down, and it was basically the idea came to me when I was driving down the road, and I heard on a radio station this person talking about in life where there's all of a sudden you have to kind of go into a space where there is high uncertainty, and he was talking about it's like that's one scary door, and when he said that, I was like, wow, that's kind of an interesting phrase. Just the way of saying that. So that then spurred me to think about, okay, well, what would a game look like with that title? And it came to me, it was a simple pick one of 3 doors, go through it, get to the end. You have a 33% chance of your game ending, right? So the odds are in your favor. And I was explaining to one of my colleagues, and I was saying, oh, here's the game I'm kind of thinking of. And I'm trying to figure out how many levels I would need, right, based on those odds. And then him being a statistics guy, was like, he goes, he goes, you know what? It's interesting because you end up with this probability curve that the odd is 66% being safe the first time, but it goes down dramatically as you proceed, right? And being
Definitely.
a stats guy, you would understand that, right?
Yeah.
Like, like playing Dungeons and Dragons and all those
Yeah.
games. And so we sat down and made a probability curve. And then when I saw it, I was like, wow. So to get through like 10 or more doors, the odds are really stacked against you. In fact, it's what is it, 1 in 200, somewhere
Yeah.
around that, of getting through all 13. And I was like, that's perfect.
I know
And
the
so
furthest I've got in it so far is the 8th room.
yeah, which
I've
is
played it. I think that's pretty far from
wait,
what I think.
I could tell you really quick. If you, I have to open a file on my machine to see my. Let's see. Hopefully, I have the probability curve inside this that I could show you or that I could reference. I don't want to get off track here.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, here. Okay. Oh yeah, the probability curve. So the odds. So the odds of getting past the second door, like safely, is 5.9, and then the odds of getting past the eighth door is 3.9, according to my math. If the math's wrong, and somebody's going to correct me, your math is wrong. It's like, well, it was somebody else helped me, so it's their fault. But but it becomes this interesting thing that it's like there's like getting to 8 is challenging enough. It was interesting because I saw your stats, and what surprised me is how many times you had actually had lost the game on the first level.
Oh yeah, for the first day I wanted to try a tactic to try and see what would happen, and I only used the left door for like the first 10 runs, and I died almost every time.
I guess that gets into like what's the odds of every left door being safe? Does it change? I'm not sure. That's for the math guys, right? To run that. So the basically with the game, right? I was like, go through the door. If you get a scary door, your game's over. If you make it through, you get another set of doors. And with that, then I was like, okay. I ended up thinking, okay, well, how am I going to do this? Like, what's the time commitment cost? And then I thought, well, I'll build a prototype, and I like to work in Unity. That's where I'm most comfortable. So like now, right, because I spent a lot of time building all the games I've published on my own through Unity. So I was like, okay, well, I'll build a basic prototype. And everything I used was from asset stores. So because I thought, hey, low-cost prototyping is valuable to me, right? I don't have to spend a lot of money to do it. I can test it, figure out if I like it. And then I found that there's a lot of content that I could actually use and kit bash and pull from other areas to make multiple levels. And so I ended up going down this path of making a bunch of levels, adding scares. I thought like, and I call it a scare, although it's like something pops in front of you when your game's over, right? I'd love to like revisit it maybe later on and as a sequel and go, okay, let's up the ante on the scares. So
4 scary doors.
What's that?
4 scary doors.
Well, it would be 3 very scary doors or something like that, right? Like so that the scare would just add a little bit of a cinematic or theatrical aspect to it. Right now, I just cut to it, and then there's an animation plays, and it goes. So it is fairly simple, but it's like it's game over for you anyways. You've lost. Anything else after that was candy. My big goal was I was like, because I'd been working on a game for so long, I was like, geez, I haven't published something in a while. I really got to get it out there. In the middle of actually somewhere in the middle of working on my that Dino Tank game, my business partner actually had earlier ended up, he had cancer. He ended up passing away. So sorry. He was one of my, thank you. He was the co-founder. His name was John Amos. Awesome guy. It's like finding people you can collaborate with are few and far between. And when you do, you cherish those. So after that ended, I just kept working on this thing. And I got to the point as I was kind of with the COVID hitting, I was like, well, I got to work on something. And so this was the first one that I did without my business partner involved in it, right? It was all just me, everything. I restructured my company to be more appropriate for being a sole proprietor that I am. And went
I
for simple publishing on itch.io.
can I ask, what is your favorite room you made?
Favorite room? Oh my God. You know, each one has something that I like about it. Like the 13th room, I love the scare. I love the way it is presented. And I really love the composition of the last door. When you walk up to the door, the composition, I just love the composition of that. I actually have an image of it. I could actually, wait, I could share it as my Zoom background if you want.
Yes.
Let me do that, right? Oh, it's going to take me 1 second. Choose my virtual background. I was actually going through some of these so that you can kind of see it here. Wait, where is it? I spent a little bit of time before I joined this to find the right background that was appropriate to this. So let me, where is it? Where do I have it? Here it is. So you can see that, right?
Yeah.
So as you approach the door, that's the composition. And I love that as the last door because, whoops, ignore my, I've just got some junk behind me. So I really like that because it really, there was just something, there was the composition wise, it's asymmetrical. It looks really cool. Here's another kind of a shot of a room. It's a little more dramatic. I'm going to get away from this one, but just so you at least just see one. Where it's like, it's kind of like an alien-esque type world. Yeah. And I like it for the, like I think every world I was building, it was like trying to find that little thing that was surprising in it. And I built lots of rooms that I didn't even use. I was just like, it's not right. It's kind of like, doesn't seem to work. I really love the one outdoor room, right? You got to walk through up to a cabin. And I thought, wow, that's got a real fun feel to it. You know, it's like a lot of these, if you watch or you look through them, you'll see kind of like familiar horror tropes. And it's like when you go outside, you're like, oh God, I feel like I'm in that zombie movie. Or it's like, wow, what's in this basement space that's creeping around? There's what's another one? I think the thing, what I like, it's like I love the process of making stuff. So it's like you know, when I build it, it's that, okay, when am I satisfied? Which is, it's like each room I could always go back and improve and improve and improve. But then getting to that point where it's like you get that thing where you go, okay, I think it has what it needs. Lift the other one up. Lift something else that's lower. So I think each one has something that I like. I tried to state, like, put the rooms in order in what I felt was like I was upping the ante. There's this one where you kind of go,
gets more creepy as you go.
Yeah, there's one that's kind of a graveyard type. Like it's like kind of like,
I made it to that room.
Like a hellish graveyard.
Yeah.
Feel. I don't know. Describe it quickly for me, and I can tell you if that's the one.
There was trees outside, there was a fog, and there was tombstones littered around.
Okay. Were there flames in it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Right. It's kind of really dramatic feeling. Yeah. That one. It has some real cool things in it there that I was like. It's like when you kit bash, I think it's the surprise of going, what can I put in here? What's the right thing to put in here?
For people that don't know what that is, what is a kit bash?
So kit bashing, actually, I believe okay, I could be wrong on this, but it's like the first time I ever heard about kit bashing was it when it was used to describe when you would take like models of cars or ships or stuff, and then you take 2 or 3 of them and you put them all together and you make something else. Okay. And as a little kid, I remember I went to my uncle's, you know, we were family vacation kind of thing. They lived up in you know, outside of our city, and he was an avid car modeler, right? Like, so he was a mechanic, but he would build car models. And he had this big chest filled with all these car parts that were like, so I went, like, I remember that day, it's like, I went in there and I'm like, I like these wheels. I like that chassis. I like this steering wheel. There's a skull in here. I'm going to glue it onto the steering wheel. I can use the tire iron to look like crossbones. And it's like combining these things to make something new was always fun. And that's kind of in that kit bash realm, right? Where you just go, I can make things out of other things to make something unique. And so in Unity and kit bashing, it's like, hey, I've got a prop that's, say, a bridge, and then I'm going to use the bridge, but I'm going to put it in the hallway, and I'm going to use the pieces of those bridge pieces as beams. So it's like, and then I can add other things inside it that are not part of that kit or that asset pack to just make something unique, right? So when you see these are just like, it's the juxtaposition of many different things that go together to work well.
Awesome.
Or that I feel work well, right? And I think that's horror, right? Horror is the combination of odd elements that or familiar elements in uncomfortable ways.
Can you tell us a bit about Zygobot Studios?
Oh man, I can't remember the day that we started Zygobot, but it's like, so Zygobot was a thing that it was like, I formed it with my business partner who had actually worked with it at EA. We met working on Superman Returns way back in the day. And then we got a chance to work on another project at EA. It was, what was it, NFL tour. But we became fast friends, right? I think adversity helps you become friends, or it'll either make you, it'll stress relationships. But it was, he was an artist as well. We would go down and we would always talk about, we'd go to have coffee, right? Go get our Starbucks and sit by the pool that was at this Sheraton that was nearby. And we would, there was me and one of our other compatriots as well. We would talk about our ideas, things that we were working on. And we were always working on something, right? I would be writing something, painting something, drawing something. And my friends were doing something as well. And we always said, hey, we should work together. And we go, yeah. But it was always, yeah, as long as it's my thing, then, right? But that's, and there's nothing wrong with that. So my one friend, my friend John, he ended up starting at, he came to work with us at Full Sail and was actually part of the GDMS program. And when he was there, it was like we were running what was the Master's Studio, which is one of the many incantations of the capstones that we run there. I'm not going to get into all those, but with that, as we were kind of hanging out, I said, hey, look at this prototype I built. And I built a little prototype of a little diver guy. It was just really rudimentary. And this was the start of my endless runner. And I'm like, what did I call it? I called it Divey or something. I forget it had some goofy name written down somewhere. And essentially you would dive, get to the treasure, finish it. But along the way, there were all these characters that were obstacles, or essentially they were player modifiers. So if you hit the squid would shoot you in a direction. If you hit a jellyfish, it would stun you. If you would hit a turtle, you'd bounce off of it, right?
Yeah.
Fairly basic. If you run out of air, you die. If you collect air, it'll help you stay alive. Little camera bump there.
Yeah. Was that the cat?
If you, buoys would allow you to float. Anchors would make you drop faster. More air would cause you to float. Less air would make you go faster. So not worried about true physics of dive rates and all that. Like, we're not a physics simulator. It was just a puzzle game. So I showed him this early prototype that I had, and he goes, wow, that looks really cool. And he said, I'd love to help you work on that. And the rest is history. I think we worked on it for over a year, just me and him working on it. I got a couple other people to help out. I actually contracted one of our students to do some sound for us on it. Yeah, I think that he did a great job. He did the music track. I just needed the music. I can do spot sound effects. I'm okay in that realm. But it's like, composition wise, I got to get the professionals because they know what they're doing. And then we also had a guy, one of our other colleagues that we worked with, he actually did some artwork for us. So he actually worked on, we knew him from EA, and he had worked on Adventure Time comics and some Disney, like Toy Story comics. He's worked on lots of different things. But so we needed all these fish to add to our aquarium, and I ended up or John had been in contact with him really well, and he said, hey, would you be willing to do some artwork for us? We'll give you a list. Like we need what did we need? We needed like what were the things? Was it a coelacanth, or I forget what, like a blue spotted octopus. If you go to the like one of the mobile stores and search Davy Jones Ocean Odyssey, you'll see this. You'll also, if you go to IndieDB, you'd actually be able to see some of the levels and kind of the puzzle design that's inside of them. There's a little bit of a walkthrough in some of the treasure map images. So he did these drawings. He charges a great rate on it. And then my friend John, was awesome in 2D UI artwork, he would do all the artwork. So I actually took on all the design and any scripting that needed to be done. I would go get help when I needed it, because I'm not a programmer. I am not a programmer. And I would get help when I needed it. And very much like what you're doing right now, Dylan, right? You just figure it out. And then my buddy would take the artwork and we would just have a sessions where I go, wait, I want this thing to be like Atlantis. And he goes, what do you want? And I'd scribble something on a piece of paper. And I go, this is the composition.
So familiar to every indie meeting in my breakout room. I want this, kind of like that. They asked me to draw it up a bit.
Yeah. And it's like, it's like I've worked as an art director before, so I'm familiar with like just driving stuff forward and managing people. So I'm comfortable in that realm and managing a schedule. So our schedule was very informal. And it's like, so as I would work on this, I would go home at night, I would work on levels, and I would design something. And then I would come and we'd sit and have coffee. It was at a Target that was right next to Full Sail. And we'd sit down and I'd plunk my computer in front of him and I'd go, okay, it's like, okay, test this level. And I would just watch him play it and see how it went, take his feedback, observe where he got stuck, what was working, and then just kind of catapult and go, okay, now that seems to work. And he would say something like, we need a level that is shaped like an anchor. And I'd be like, I'm on it. And then I would go down the path of trying to realize these things. It was like kind of the first solo puzzle type game to do, like puzzle platformer. And I really, really enjoyed it. Learned so much, right? Every game is like a joyous learning excursion. So, and you know what? I probably diverged from your question greatly.
No, I loved that story. This is just like my favorite parts of lectures right now.
Yeah, I love stories. I like to make them relevant when I'm telling them.
What brought you from the industry to Full Sail?
Well, it's like at the time, I'd worked in Vancouver, right? That's where I kind of started in my game industry, working in there. After I worked at one company, friends of mine, we decided to start our own studio. We did that for 3 years. We shut that down. I actually went to work in California as an art director on a title down there. That studio shut down. I ended up going, I met a girl from New York, went and hung out in New York for a while, got married and said, I'm done with games. Done. I'm so tired. It's like, I need something else. So I actually got my real estate license in New York, and I started down that path. And then I got a call from EA, and they were looking for someone to work in art production management. And I was like, we were expecting our first child at that time. And I went, that sounds like a good thing. Right? Right. The market, it was actually just before the market got a little bit crazy. So it's like probably a good thing in hindsight. But I was like, got a kid coming in here. Like, why not? This sounds like a fun opportunity. Ended up working there for about, it was almost 4.5 years. And, around that time, EA kind of moved into almost like a yearly layoff situation. And it ended up being around a layoffs. I was kind of in a middle management position. I'd shifted teams to different teams. In my last year, was it 3 different teams? I did 3 alphas in my last year. Switching managers as I went, and I'm like, it's just one of those things that it's like, hey, you get caught up in a layoff. You're like, okay. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? The moment that really hit me was you know, it's like I walked out of there and I was like, I'm just going to walk home. I didn't live that far away. So it was a little farther. I used to drive, but it's like, I'll just walk home. No big deal. And I'm walking along, and then and it dawned on me, it's like, you know what? Everything I was worried about yesterday is not what I'm worried about today. Nothing I'm worried about yesterday is the same. It's just totally different. And I'm like, so it was kind of this weird, it was like this freeing thing where you're like, wow, all that the stresses related to that, or like, you know, the challenges related to that work, we're all just like, wow, that's nothing now. It's like, now I got to worry about paying my mortgage, right? I got a different thing that's on my mind. So it's like, you know, jumped on get my resume out there, applied at a bunch of different things. And, you know, it's like, cause I was doing a bit of a blanket kind of thing. I actually did a little bit of teaching when in between my, before I actually went down to California. I did some contract work teaching some game design at a company or a school out there for a very short thing. It was a contract type thing. And so I thought when I was applying, I'm like, hey, I'm just going to blanket. I'm going to look for educational opportunities as well, right? So games in Orlando, there weren't many companies there. There's still not a lot here. So it was like, you know, now I'm blanketing like across, you know, America, like, hey, I got to find some work, got to get working. But then, hey, I'll look at some educational opportunities. So I fired off a couple to some local places here. You know, I got some bites, did some production tests for a company. So I had it was good. Very quickly, I had some good bites, right? Some opportunities that looked like they could pan into something, right? It's like, you know, it's that illusion that you have when you're applying. Everything's the opportunity that could be, but there's nothing there. And so I'd actually had a couple of things, kind of opportunities that were in my wheelhouse. And then Full Sail was quick to react. I came down, interviewed. In fact, when I interviewed at Full Sail, I actually thought I'd applied for a different job than I actually got. And so I think I'd read the job description for the course that I ended up in, and I was like, oh, that's not me. but so the brilliance of Full Sail is there's people that know better than I do who are able to go, hey, I think this would be a good fit for you. So when I came into interview, it was odd because I'm like, wait, I was like, in my head, I'm like, this is not what I thought I'd be interviewing for. I'm getting asked very different questions than I really thought were relevant to the role. But hey, I just answer questions, right? It's like, you're in an interview, you just go with it, right? Be comfortable, be yourself. And so as it went, you know, it's like between interviewing and hiring, there's always a window. So the other opportunities that I had out there, I put on hold. I was like, kind of stalled them, right? I was like, you know, gave them a little bit of a, you know, you never want to go, hey, I'm looking at another company. Hey, can you stand by? You manage it in a respectful way, so that you're like, to put them in your priority list. And ended up getting the follow up, and came into work at Full Sail, and actually when I started in the GDMS program, teaching asset management, it had a new program had just started. The course I was supposed to teach was launching, I think, and it was about a month and a half or 2 months. So it was like, you're gonna be live, build a course, get rocking. And I'm like, oh, okay. And you know, Full Sail's been awesome because it's very much a real world education institution, that the ability to just take what I knew and learned was just a real nice fit. And I think what was fun about it is it was able to take a lot of different things that I had done and worked on, and kind of consolidated them in a way that I was able to build a program or a course that lived in the right space for the type of students that we got, which are really cross-functional skill set people, right? We get people that are from a wide range of backgrounds: writers, sociologists, programmers, designers, what else? Audio, right? Audio people. We get a real interesting mix, and because of that, and kind of my familiarity with working how I did and where I did, it just was a fun fit for me, and I was able to kind of, I think, plug in comfortably. I'm pretty comfortable here. It's like I've been in here over 10 years now. time flies at Full Sail. It's like,
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, as a student, you get that. It's like, oh my God, my degree's over, and then I have to go. Holy cow, I've been here how long? Um, but it's still exciting, right? And I think being able to personally be able to push out stuff, right, and be creative as do creative expression type opportunities, but then also help work with people like yourself, Dylan, on your Role for Initiative, or many of our other students that are actually Bill, in fact, who put out Humanity Saver or Savior
Savior.
Saver.
Savior.
I always mess up the VR part. Saver,
Yeah.
right? The VR part of that. As well as the team that put out Psych just recently, and then there's like how many, like 5 other titles in development on various platforms, like Unreal stuff, the Unity stuff, and just letting students really push their creativity and bring themselves to the table, which is kind of, I've had a wonderful opportunity to do that, right? Publishing games, putting them out myself prior to doing this, having students work on those things, and now being able to go, hey, now I get to help the student games in a different capacity and help them grow and build this indie games track into something that's valuable, useful, and gives people opportunities to really be able to walk out and talk to an employer and sound like they've worked in the industry. Because in fact, you've worked in a cross-functional team. And you know what it's like. It's every day. We definitely have very unique opportunities in this track that you will not, let's see, for the most part, you're not going to get them in when you get to the industry. One being that we get new capacity every month, but it's unpredictable what their skill set will be. And we manage that and try to build opportunities for everyone. And that's a unique thing, because in the industry you go, I need an artist, hire an artist. I have work for the artist. Here I go, I have an artist. What's the opportunity for that artist? How do I give them, right? How do we, you included, right? How do we create interesting, fun things, right? And I love design. I love art. I love the technical side, not a programmer. I love the quality, just pushing it further. I love the cinematic side of it. And so I get to dabble my finger in everything on many different levels, from the pre-pro to production to finalizing, and then work with current grads. We actually work with students that have past graduated that want to come back and work with us. Students in other programs that want to offer help and say, hey, I want to work on some modeling, but I'm in the modeling program or the art program. Can I come and help? And it's like, for us, it's like the door's open, right?
Yeah.
We want to do fun things. And it's like, when I see what you're working on, it's like, I remember when seeing your Role for Initiative in the it was about the 2nd month that you had been working on it, and just seeing what you had done, not being even familiar in Unreal, was impressive.
Never even touched it, didn't even really know what it was.
Yeah, and seeing that, and then seeing what you were able to do, it's like I think it's like having children in a way, right? Where it's like you can live vicariously through the awesome things that are their opportunities, but at the same time it's theirs, and they get that joy of that, and then as somebody that helps facilitate it and does, and as Zygobot, I work with all the students teams, and it's like Zygobot in association with, so they're your things. I just am happy to be able to kind of help in some way.
I could not have gotten this far in my game without your help. That's for sure.
Well, thank you. It's like, but it's effort, and it's effort on your part, right? It's like, it takes someone with vision to drive it, and that's not lost. And because the team follows those people, and you see in our studio, those people that want the opportunity are able to just dive at it and make it happen. And then those that are just happy supporting products.
Yeah.
And which is, all the roles are valuable, and it's like, and leadership can be shared. And I think what I like is that I can make a suggestion, and it doesn't matter if it's out of left field. It's truly up to you to decide if it's appropriate for what you want to do. It's like, I remember like, and so my feelings are never hurt if it never makes it into the product, right? Um, and I get the control of doing my own things where I decide everything that goes in. So I get the best of both of those. But I remember I had this one instructor when I was in my animation degree back in the day of my degree. And I was working on a film, and he said, you know what this needs? It needs bagpipes. and and he would say that to everybody. And I was like, I'm pretty sure this doesn't need bagpipes. I didn't say that, but I was like, in my head, I'm like, bagpipes were not the thing. But what I appreciated about what he did, his name was Hugh Foltz, was that he just spoke honestly about what he saw. But he let it be yours. And I ended up doing this little animation thing. We had a little animation exercise where I ended up having, he had this character that he had done when he worked for I think it was the National Film Board way back in the day. This little character that he had. And I actually used that as him. So there was so it was an homage to him in this thing where there was this wrestler going to wrestle him. And he ends up, this guy pops up, this little guy comes into the scene that was his character, but his name was Few Holds, because got to have a good wrestling name.
Yeah.
And then to beat the bad guy, he ends up pulling out his bagpipes. So I was able to squeeze in bagpipes. But he was one of those instructors that I think the thing that he really touched, that stuck with me about him, was he ended up having cancer and passing away before in my final grad year. But I remember he came in the last semester of our program, and every person, all he wanted to do was see what they were doing. And later on, I had another instructor that when I ran into him, he only talked about what he was doing. And it really struck me that I was like, that Hugh Foltz, he cared about what you were doing. And it really was something that really resonated. And it's like something I've kind of just always being acutely aware, like, it's about what doing education is wonderful, because it's not about you, it's about others, and it's about them reaching whatever height they want, and trying to like grab at a dream, and it's like, it's very, very it's rewarding in that way. And then even seeing past grads that go off and they'll tell you a story about working when you something you said that you did, like, you're like, geez, I barely remember that conversation, but it resonated in a meaningful way, and it stuck with them, and it helped them in some way to get where they were going. And it's fun. And there's a great saying that, like, and I really believe it when working on projects, and I found it on working on my own as well. And I try to tell it to students working on theirs. It's like, you may not have everything you need to get where you want to be right now, but the moment you start working on it, someone's going to show up and it's going to help you on your way. And I'll find that students that show up, they're like, okay, I got this idea, but who's going to work on it? And then I'll go, well, just wait. It's like, it'll come, just keep going. And then what do we have every month? Somebody shows up.
That happened with me without a doubt, because it was just me. And then I think it was 2.5 months in, 3 people showed up, and just, they're still working on it to this day. They did not want to stop working on it and helping.
An awesome concept artist, an awesome modeler.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I look at all the projects and you kind of look at that, you go, you just need to start going.
Yep.
And it's like, and it can feel overwhelming, and you don't have to know the answers, and you don't have to know outcome. You just have to start right now, and try to, and don't get discouraged, right? Because there's enough stuff that's hard.
Oh yeah.
There was another guy. He was the author of Holes, and it was funny. This was at the end of the Disney movie Holes, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the author of its name, but he said this line in the interview when he was working on Holes, and he said, when I was working on this, every night I'd work a little bit, like an hour or so, and it felt like nothing. Then he said, but a lot of little nothings add up to something. And that thing was like, is just like almost a mantra that I just like when you work on it and your progress is like this much, you feel like you have not gained ground. Maybe you even went backwards, but you still go, those little pieces add up over time. And it's like, right? So,
Yeah.
right, like, so you never know where the inspiration is going to hit, but you jot it down, or you just, if it's like, if it, you know, ideas, I think they live or they die. And it's up to us to either nurture them or just let them drift into the background. And we get to choose. And if we
Well,
choose to nurture it, then other people are on their way to help you.
can you tell us, for the last question, just a little bit about the Game Design Masters program?
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Whoa. Oh, this is good. It's really great because we have actually behind the scenes that run every month. So anybody interested in getting into the Full Sail as an educational institution, right? Contact just contact the main offices. They'll set you up with the behind the scenes and give you a good, currently virtual tour of what's there. So the Game Design Masters actually has 3 pillars to the program: design, production, and usability. Within that program, so that means essentially that all the courses either fall into one of those 3 categories, and courses like mine, asset management, have overlap. So what we're trying to do on the production side is we want you to think like leadership aspects, right? Like, do you think like a leader in terms of managing your production, managing the quality assurance, managing schedules, managing people? Then we get into the usability side, which is very heavy on kind of like user experience, right? UX being the buzzword, but it's in that human factors realm where it's man meets machine and how we interact with what we do. And then there's design, and design is design, right? It's like everything that goes into making your product. I have 2 classes, prototyping and asset management. My prototyping is heavier on design, and then my asset management is heavier on production, though they overlap in all the areas. It's just the nature of that. They're team-based. With that, our program, so the first 4 months is kind of get you oriented. You shadow in many of the different capstones. We have a couple production track capstones, 2 studio tracks, which are mine and another one called Serious Games. We have opportunities to work just with student teams and as work as like kind of the associate producer role with other instructors. We have opportunities to potentially work in the VR area, right? If you're a little more technical, there's opportunities there. And then also to work in the user experience realm because we have a UX lab on site. So there is a difference between campus and online, because online will have limits to the specific capstone opportunities. But when you hit the capstone months 5 to 12, a significant portion of your time is actually working in that capstone. So for Dylan, right, you're working with me, spending a lot of time, which is fun, right? Building, like taking your game right through to publish. So how many months you're like, how many months in right now? You are month 5?
No, we're 9, 8 or 9.
Eight. I'm sorry. It's like, I'm trying to keep track of it. Yeah. So yeah, I should have known. I had you for month 7, right? I get you in month 7, right? So the time goes very quick. So capstone's great because it's always practical, but it's that a la carte aspect where you pick the experience where you want to have opportunities to grow. In my track, which I can speak the most to, right? It's like, or you could even speak, like, what are the opportunities there? There's art, dev, production,
everything.
QA.
It's the full pipeline of making a video game.
Yeah. So, and then people management, studio management, managing outsourcing people. So yeah, what PR, you get to go out and help recruit. So there's lots of fun things there. And I think it's like when students come in, we encourage shadow around. And our shadowing really means just go visit where this opportunity is and see what people do there. Talk to the instructors, talk to the students doing it, and see if it works for you. Because you want, like it works for you. It works for who you are, what you want to do, where you want to go. And if you can do that, then you're ahead of the game. And then from that, it becomes time management, right? Managing course load with capstone and kind kind of chasing that dream right to the very end. Or and I
Um,
say very end because where's the end? The end is, it's like I don't think that's quite an apt term. I think it's take advantage of every moment you have because 12 months goes very, very fast.
it does.
Times 10. For
Well, thank you for sitting in and talking today.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
Where can we find your game?
It is on itch.io. So if you go to itch.io, search One Scary Door. If you actually search One Scary Door on YouTube as well, you would actually find the link to the itch.io site. You would also find it, where would it be? If you actually went to the Zygobot homepage, I've been very lax on there. I think my business partner was so good at that social media side. And it's been an area that it's like, I love the development side. I love working with people side. And then I get into that social media area and it's work. Right? I really have to, I really have to kind of just go, okay, make a concentrated effort. And I don't know what it is. Well, I do. That's for psychoanalysts later on in life. But those three areas are where you can find it and give it a play. I hope you enjoy it. And
She could take me.
okay, thank you.
All right, bye.
Okay, thanks, Talon.
You're welcome.
That's my son. That's where you can find it.
Thank you for joining us for New Game. What day is it?
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Yes. I'll see you at class tomorrow morning.
Okay. Yeah, sounds great. Sounds great. Hey, I got a question for you. Have you played War of the Ring?
No, I have not.
Okay. Well, we'll follow up on that later.
Got it.
Okay. Take care. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. It was a pleasure. It was awesome.
Okay. Thank you.